Hey, Gail,
Hi, Myrna.
never got anything.
Really? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Hi, everybody.
It's still coming, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I did it. I did the watercolors on my own stuff.
Yeah.
So
Me
you
too.
got your original package?
Yes. Yesterday, late yesterday.
I bought this. I show you. I bought this.
Oh, that's nice. Nicer than the one we got in the package.
That's what I heard. And I bought brushes and the whole thing.
I bet it'll come tomorrow.
Yeah, kind of. Arlene, we've been chatting because our packages, hers got sent back to the temple because it didn't have enough postage. And mine never got here and didn't get sent back. And then Jane sent more stuff to me. Nothing ever came.
I said to her, you think we live in Siberia? No.
Heard it's cold up there, guys.
Yeah, it is.
That
So you just like that. You're
It's not
rubbing it in.
here. I heard that I just heard a little while ago when I went to the mail, one of my neighbors said the upper part of northern Florida got 10 inches of snow.
Oh, yeah. Pensacola and
Yeah,
Jacksonville and upper Florida, the top part of Florida. Yeah.
luckily not here.
Yeah. It's not been wonderful here either, but I'll take
No.
this.
Today
over
was
what you're.
today was only 61.
Yeah. I think in Michigan It was
It
2
is
below
cold,
0.
though.
Oh,
Sorry. I was going to say it is cold, but there's only 3 inches of snow.
I heard, yeah.
My grandkids were off of school yesterday and today because of the cold.
Wow.
In the Michigan ones?
Yeah,
Yeah, my Ohio friends said that their schools were closed.
cold, very cold.
Hey, Amy.
See, Amy, I made it home in time. I got in the door around 6:15, so
What did you buy? What did you buy?
all right. We'll get started in earnest in a moment, but we're going to use the rectangular tile that we painted all the way to the edges last time. If you didn't paint, you can just work on a unpainted rectangular tile as well, or any other kind of paper that you have lying around. Our same pen that we were playing with, although I understand some of you didn't love it. So if you want to go back to your micron, you can do your O1, you can go back to that one. Pencil and tortillon. If you have a white charcoal or a white jelly roll nearby, that you could play with those, but they're not necessary for this evening.
Cantor, I didn't like the new one for very fine lines. Are we doing a lot of close work with it?
Yeah. So
Okay.
maybe you want to go back and forth. You can use this one for some of the, bolder line work, and the other one for any of the finer details you might want to do.
Thank you.
Okay, I am recording. All right, everybody can see my tools here. So let's settle in and get ready to have some fun tonight. The setup for this evening's tile is the most challenging part, and then the tangles themselves are quite doable. So stick with me as we get started in the beginning. This is based on one of the most recent Zentangle project packs that they put out every year. I think this was Project Pack 25 from Zentangle headquarters. They didn't do the painted background, but the pattern and the string that we're going to play with tonight comes from them. So I want to give credit where credit is due. Molly and Martha of the Zentangle family teach this tile, and it was quite fun. So I'm going to try to guide you through it as well as they do. And then I could send you the link to them teaching it if you wanted to try it again with a different narration. And of course, this one, I'll record this as well. So if you ever want to go back and try it again, that other rectangular tile that we also painted is an extra. So if you want to do this again on your own time, you can use that one. Next week, we'll work with the square tiles that we painted. Did everybody finish their other two little bijoux? Yeah, I'd like to see them at the end too. You'll show me. We'll put them all together.
Micah,
Yes.
since I joined late, we're going to use the rectangular tile without the string?
With no border, right. That we painted all the way to the edge.
Thank you.
Although either one is fine. All right.
And Micah,
Yes.
can you send me the recording from last week, please?
Yes. Will you email me to remind me to do that?
Sure.
Eventually, when your son is back from sabbatical, they'll all be up on our YouTube channel, but I can't do that in his absence.
Okay. Thank you.
I can send you the file. That seemed to work for some who reached out. So, okay. So let's take a couple deep breaths together. Find a comfortable seat. Close your eyes if you like. And breathe in for a long, slow breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. 2 more times, in through the nose and out through your mouth. And a third deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Take any motions you might want for your body, a head and neck roll, some shoulder shrugs, a twist in your seat, wiggling your legs, knees, ankles, toes, anything that feels good, releasing any tension. And go ahead and set an intention for yourself tonight. Maybe it's to go with the flow. Maybe it's to make something beautiful out of the unexpected things that will come on this tile tonight. Maybe it's to experiment with a different style that you haven't tried before. I don't know, maybe it's just to be kind to yourself, be loving to yourself, and have a good time. So whatever your intention is, I'll remind you to come back to that throughout the course of the evening. And I hope that it is a beautiful process for you all. All right, so I'm just going to turn off my space heater because it got quite warm in my little room. One moment. Okay. So this one, we didn't draw anything on it with pencil last time. So we're going to add our string now. If your tile's a little curled, you can go ahead and flatten it. Just bend it back gently in the opposite direction. Okay, so we're going to start with our pencil. We're not going to do our border. We're going to go all the way to the edges of our tile this evening. We're going to start roughly center. I'm going to intentionally be a little bit off center. For whatever reason, I'm gravitating toward this like little white blob here. And I'm going to make 2 parallel lines, maybe about, they're about the width apart of the wooden exposed part of my pencil. And I'm going dark so you can see what I'm drawing, but yours are your strings, so you can go lightly so that the string will fade away. All right, so we've got these 2 parallel lines that are maybe 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch apart. And then we're going to connect with, you know, like making a little house, a little roof shape on top there, and a little roof shape there. Okay, so you made 1, 2, 3, 4, a 6-sided figure.
So this is supposed to be off center or center? Which
It really, it doesn't
doesn't
matter.
matter.
Mine is off center, but towards the middle. You know, it's like mine, I'm like an inch off center.
okay.
It is not an exact science. We're not using a ruler. It will be great wherever it is. Okay, so that's our first step here. So now for each one of these lines, we're going to extend out off the edge of the paper, and I'm always going to turn my tile to the left as I make these radiating lines. So you may want to just watch me for a second. I'm going to start here on this one, and I'm going to just follow this line off the paper, just like that. Then I'm going to turn to the left, and I'm going to take this line and extend it off the paper. I turn to the left and extend this line off the paper. Turn to the left this one, turn to the left, that way, turn to the left, and this one all the way down, off that way. All right, so now you should have 6 spoking lines that are coming off of that center 6-sided figure that you made. You can see they're different lengths. If they're a little wiggly, a little wobbly, it doesn't matter. Okay, everybody good with that so far? Okay, so now I think this, I don't remember which one was the first one that I started with. It really doesn't matter. I'm looking at this one, this line right here. Now I'm looking to the right of it, and I'm going to make it a 2-dimensional shape by auraing it here, roughly again about this same width as the wooden part of my pencil. So coming from this line over here, I'm to the right, and I'm drawing a parallel line from this first one here. Once I've done that, I'm turning to the right now each time. So now I'm looking at this line right here. So I'm going over here, and I'm going to aura the line that way. Okay, turning to the right, I've got this line here. I'm moving over to the right of it. Turning my tile to the right, focusing on this line here, and drawing its parallel over there. Turning my tile to the right, looking at this line right here, going the wood thickness away, making a parallel line. Don't worry if they're not exactly all even. Okay, turning to the right. I've got one more here, coming off of this line here. Going off of the page like that. All right, we're almost done with our string setup. We've got one more step to do. So I'm back here where I started, at least this last time around, with this big long one here. Again, doesn't matter where you are on yours, but I'm gonna imagine where it goes behind these other 2 pieces. Okay, it's behind here, and then this little piece would come peek out there, and then this line would continue behind this one and go off here. I wouldn't really see it again. Okay, I'm just darkening this other line here. Okay, so now it goes all the way from top to bottom, but is behind these 2. Okay, now I'm going to turn my tile to the right again. I'm looking at this, I'm going to call them, I think they landed on calling them ribbons. This ribbon here. So this line, I'm imagining it's underneath these 2 here and comes off that way. All right, and then this one on the other side of it, it's a little bit that peeks under there, and then maybe a little bit. Yours are going to be slightly different because your lines are not, you didn't draw them exactly the same way as mine. That's fine. Okay, now I'm going to turn to the right again. All right, so now we've got this band here that's going to sort of find its way off this side of the page. So I'm going to start with this one. I'm drawing behind, I'm sort of drawing in the air with my pencil to imagine where that line would continue, and then drawing off the tile there. And then I've got this one over here, so I see a little bit's gonna peek through in this spot here, and then off the edge there. Okay, then turn my tile. I've got this piece here, which has got to come all the way off the tile here. So I'm drawing behind, imagining where that goes, like so. And then on the other side, like so. Turning my tile, looking at this one here. So on this side, it's going to come off like that. And this one, a little peek through there. If you accidentally draw over, you know, on a line that was there for, like, it doesn't matter. We're gonna ink over it anyway. So if you have an oops moment, it's not a big deal. Okay, and then I think we have one more that needs the rest of its tail here. So this one goes like this. And this one, this other side comes off like that. Okay, so you should have something like this. And I'm just noticing there's kind of like a Jewish star shape that's kind of peeking through here. It's a basket weave kind of thing going on. Does everybody have something that looks roughly like this? More or less? Okay, great. That's awesome. All right, so you can put your pencil down for a little while. Pick up a pen of your choice. So I'm going to start, let's see, where do I want to start? Doesn't really matter. You can go wherever you like. I'm going to focus on this band right here. So it has two overlapping ribbons that I'm just going to be aware of, and I'm going to have to draw behind right from the get-go. So we're going to do a lot of layering in this tangle, so just take your time and be mindful and intentional. So I'm going to uncap my pen. We're going to do a tangle called Vertigo, which is a beautiful organic tangle that looks sort of like a sprig of rosemary or the branch of an evergreen or something like that. It's very pretty. And we're going to start with a long stem that goes all the way through the middle of this ribbon here, but goes behind these two. So maybe just watch me first. It doesn't have to be straight. I'm going to give mine a little bit of a curve intentionally. So I just lifted my pen and drew behind that one. And I'm going to come up and I'm going to have it curve like so, right through the center-ish of that ribbon. And just to reiterate, we're with our in pen now, the pen of your choice. The watercolors do change the texture of the tile a little bit, but it should still take the pen pretty well. That's why I prefer watercolors over like colored pencils or something like that as a base. Okay, so now we're going to give this twig stem 2 dimensions. So like a little point at the top, and then I'm just curving back down. I'm picking my pen up and drawing behind that ribbon there and this one there, and I'm letting the bottom sort of go off the page, the tile. Okay, so now we're going to add these leaf shapes on either side of this branch that we've put here. Again, making sure that we draw behind, draw underneath some of these other things that are already in our path. So what does that mean? I'm going to start on this side, and I'm going to make a frond, and I'm going to imagine we could even make a really long frond under here. So maybe it goes all the way under this one and the top peaks up on the other side. And again, yours are going to be different than mine because your tile is different than mine. And then we're going to draw on either side to make a leaf shape. So I'm drawing outside the border of this ribbon that we're putting this tangle in, but I am not drawing over this ribbon here. Does that make sense? All right, and then I'm going to draw a similar one, but not the same, on the other side. I'm going to imagine that that one is hiding, it's get tucked underneath here and goes over that way. Okay, now I just said we're not going to draw over top of this, but maybe one of these leaves does manage to escape over. So maybe this one here does creep over top. Maybe yours doesn't, but that one of mine just poked its way to overlap. Okay, maybe yours are more under control than mine. So we're just going to make our way up this branch that we put here. And so this one maybe goes under this ribbon, but goes over top of this one. So we're really going to play with overlapping and seeing how this is all going to go. I'm going to make this one overlap too, so because it looks very pretty, I think. I'm going to imagine that there's another one that starts over here, but it's underneath. So this one maybe just is going to come up that way. And I'm going back and forth, one on either side at a time. They don't have to be exactly lined up. We're going to go back and add some more leaf shapes. We're just going to get a first set of them, and then we'll see how we want to fill in. So there's lots of different ways to draw vertigo. This is kind of a flowy variation, but you can make it look a lot of different ways. I'm letting my leaves get a little shorter as I get towards the tip. You don't have to. And already you can see how pretty the watercolor comes through and sort of accentuates the pattern. So I'm going to go back starting at the bottom again and seeing where I might fill in some extra little leaves. and you can have them go under or over leaves that are already there. So perhaps I've got one that is going underneath this one here. Maybe it pokes up the other side there. I'm just filling in. What does your vertigo need or want? Taking my time. Just a couple more here. I think there needs to be one right here. Maybe another tip of one peeking out over here. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. I could spend the whole night drawing vertigo. All right, and if you can still see where that original ribbon was, where we put our vertigo, you can go ahead and fill in with some orbs inside the space that's left. You don't have to fill every single nook and cranny, but if you wanted to, again, this is all, if it appeals to you, you can go ahead and add some little orbs here in some of the spaces. It helps kind of give a little bit more definition to the the ribbon that we originally started working on. So I'm just nestling in these little orbs in between the leaves, not everywhere, just here and there. They're different sizes. Some are a whole little row of them, some are just one. And as you keep revisiting sort of the same areas on your tile, if a line of your leaf shape needs refining. You know, you can always go back in, give something a little bit more love, give a line a little bit more love and attention. Okay, so that's our first frond, our first ribbon with the pattern Vertigo. All right, so the next one, let's see, where do we want to go next? Again, it doesn't really matter which ribbon you choose to turn your attention to next. I'm going to focus on this one right here. So it kind of is a little bit perpendicular to the vertigo that we just drew. I'm blanking on what this one's called. I think this might be a variation on a tangle called Mirror, but I'll have to get back to you on that one. So I'm going to start by, again, bisecting this ribbon with a straight-ish line in the middle-ish, all the way down the center, but drawing behind the other ribbons that are already there. So I'm lifting my pen up, drawing behind, just imagining. Okay, now I'm going to pick up here. I'm going to not get in the way of these vertigo leaves. And then continue down. Okay, so just bisected it through the middle. And then we're just going to make a series of slanted parallel lines all the way down on either side of this center line, leaving a little room in between each one because we'll add some embellishment afterwards. So like a V shape. So I'm just going to start with a set here. Like that, looks like an arrow. And then I'm just going to do the same thing all the way down. So you could do all on one side first. I think that feels more fun and comfortable for me. Okay, again, being mindful of the other ribbons that I have to draw behind. We'll go above. I just wanted to get a set for you to see. So we'll go up here too. Okay, I have a little bit that's peeking through back here. And then if it's helpful, you can kind of like pick up and make that arrow shape again when you come through the other side. I don't know if you noticed, I had a little bit of an errant line from this vertigo leaf, and I just extended it and made it one of these radiating lines. Zentangle is full of all these little ways you can just course correct little things as you need to. Oops, I forgot this section up here. Got to come back and take care of that. So once you're done with those lines, and no rush if you are still working on that, but if you're ready for a next step, I'm starting at a random spot. I'm going to make 3 little dots inside each of those bands. Some might have 3, some might have 4, 2. Little filled in orbs. Just adding texture, little detail. Just take a moment, circle back around to your intention. What did you want this time to be about for you? You can also check in with your breath. Are you holding your breath? Are you pursing your lips? That's what I always do. Are you hunching your shoulders? Are you clenching the pen? Relax all of those things. We are just drawing lines and shapes on a little piece of paper. The stakes are very low. All right, so that's a fun little texture there. There is no rush, but if you're ready for the next step, we're still on this ribbon here. We're going to do a little row of orbs on either side, all the way down. That looks like this. Okay, remember to draw behind. You may need to avoid some vertigo leaves. Okay, once you've gone down one side, go ahead and go all the way down the other side. taking your time, enjoying the process. Okay, if you're done with that, just chill out for a minute. I know everybody's working at a different pace. Stretch your arms. Might want to put your pen down for a moment, relax your hand. You know, usually I say if you're not done, you can come back later, but this is one of those tangles that you want to finish one section before you go on to the next so that you don't have to deal with where was I supposed to be overlapping? Where is it supposed to go under? So we'll wait just another moment before we go on. Maybe you have some zhuzhing to do. I'm adding some more orbs to my vertigo, because why not? Okay, let's keep moving. So I'm going to work with this ribbon here that goes underneath vertigo and mirror. I'm calling it mirror. I can't remember its name. I think it's mirror. This pattern here. And we're going to go with this one here. And we're going to do, it's sort of like printemps. It's a very early tile. Its name is also tangle. Its name is snail, but it's pretty much printemps. It's a spiral. And they just kind of hook up in a line together. So we're going to do a set of spirals that goes all the way up this ribbon here. Oops, just drew a little bit on my tile. That's okay. All right, so I'm going to start not all the way at the bottom, but again, maybe like this pen nibs height off from the bottom, and I'm going to make a spiral that goes to the outside of my string line. And then it might sort of end like that. Okay, so I'm not going off the edges. I'm not going outside the border. And then I'm going to make another one about the same distance away. I'm going to go a little ways away. When I hit the edge of the pencil line, I'm going to draw behind, and I'm also going to draw behind the first one that was there, the first spiral. And maybe I'm going to go one more around so that they come close to each other. Okay, so they're not all going to be exactly the same size. I'm going to move up a little bit. Same thing. Like that. This is a little bit tricky here because I've got to deal with this other piece that's here, but I'm going to imagine that the spiral starts here, and I'm just going to draw behind. All right, so it's there, it's just kind of layered underneath. Same here, I'm going to imagine the spiral is here, but then all that we see of it is maybe that little bit there. Okay, then maybe the next one, once I'm on the other side, the center of it starts here, and I got to navigate all of these leaf shapes. So you're just using your imagination to see where the rest of that shape would go. And it doesn't have to be perfect. The eye kind of does whatever it needs to do for you to look at that and be like, yeah, that's a spiral. And then this last one, it's gonna, the top of it'll go off the page. So you may see, if yours are like mine, you have these little V shapes here where each of these spirals, intersect with each other. I'm just going to go and make each one a little bit of a rounded bump out that kind of comes out the edge of our string. So it's like that tiny little ladybug shape. And then we can kind of, let's reiterate this whole line, that string. You can kind of curve it where the printemps or the snail curve would be. So it doesn't have to be a straight line, but I am going over and adding a pen border all the way down one side and then all the way down the next. So I'm using that little bump out that we drew. By the way, can you hear my husband speaking who's in a meeting right next door? Can you hear that? No? Okay, well, that's good. Then it's only distracting for me. Okay, so we've got our spirals, our snail or printemps, whatever we want to call them. How we doing? Good? Okay. Let's see. Where are we going next? Let's do some Tripoli in this piece right here. I'm going to focus on this one. You pick the one that appeals to you. So for this one, we are going to start actually defining that original pencil line that we drew. And I'm just going to be mindful to not draw over this, my crazy printemps leaf, vertigo leaf that escaped here. And I'm not going to draw over this band here or this one here. I'm going to draw behind. So I'm going to start here, pick up my pen, continue here, pick up my pen, and then I don't put it back to the tile then until I'm all the way over here for one side. And then the same thing on the other edge. Okay. And I'm actually going to add another little aura just inside both of those lines that I just drew. So very, very thin aura'd line inside. Picking up my pen and drawing behind just like we did for the first ones. Okay. So Tripoli are a series of triangles that kind of nestle together, and we can fit them in any way we want to. However, we are not going to touch these little borders that we just created. So the Tripoli is going to hover inside this band, and we're going to maintain a little distance from the border, and then we're going to maintain that same distance between each of our triangular shapes. So I'm going to start here just kind of randomly so that you can get a sense. So I'm maintaining that border there. And then I'm going to aura one of the lines of that first triangle that I drew. And then I'm going to make a triangle out of that triangle. And then I'm going to go take another line of that triangle and make another one. And we're just going to keep going that way. I've made kind of a tight space here, but maybe there's a little triangle that fits in there. And maybe there's one that kind of fits in there, but you might want to position yours a little bit differently so that you don't run into that kind of a traffic jam. And they can go underneath whatever is, if you have a vertigo leaf of any kind or anything else in your way. So it's okay if some of those triangles are a little wonky like mine. It's a little bit like giraffe spots. So let's add a little bit of ink and depth and texture to these triangles in the ones that are big enough, because certainly not all of mine are. I'm going to make that little ladybug shape on the inside of each line of the triangle. So just a tiny little lump and colored it in on each side. I don't want them to touch or run into each other. So some of them might be quite small. But just adding little details, little textures. A little bit of ink gives it some drama. Okay. Two more sections, two more ribbons, and then we'll turn to some shading. Okay, so I'm going to now go on this other long one that I have left here. It's going parallel to my snail line. And I'm going to turn my tile around so I can start in this area that's more open, so I can show you what we're going to do here. So we're going to start at the edge, and I'm going to make a leaf shape that goes across this space at a diagonal. And then I'm going to make another one that goes the other way, coming down. So just this leaf shape, and they're going to alternate all the way across. And I'm turning my tile back and forth so that my drawing hand stays in the same place and the tile moves underneath me. So I'm going to draw behind when I come up on this vertigo leaf here. Again, drawing behind. Drawing behind. Now I got to sort of imagine, let's see, is there another, where does this one come down? There's one here, maybe this comes down here. This next one is going to go underneath this one. Okay, so you're going to end up with something like that. in the V of each one of these shapes, regardless of which direction it's facing, up or down, if you're holding your tile like mine, we're going to go ahead and put one of our little like crescent moon ladybug shapes in the V of each one. So like a little curved line, and then filling in, little curved line. Okay, so those are sort of all the ones that I can see. And then this is very similar to what we were doing last week with our petals and leaf shapes that we were making. From the center of each of your little crescent moon ladybug things that we just made, we're going to go from the center out to our edge of the ribbon, and then just have these little radiating lines that go out, and they can be a little bit thicker at the edge, just a tiny bit. Okay, and you're going to do that on all of the ladybug shapes. Turn your tile however you need to keep your drawing hand comfortable. I'm having some interesting interactions with the vertigo leaves and these little radiating lines. And then one more little detail, two more little things. Here we can do that kind of feathering that we were doing, that thatching inside these little leaf shapes that we drew. Just a couple little etched lines to give some texture to these petal shapes. So you kind of pull and let your pen come up off the paper. And one last little thing we can do on this one here is, I really love this, and I never thought to do this in Zentangle before, but you know those little, you know how ribbons sometimes have those little nubby things that run down the side? If you just do these little loop-de-loops, you end up with this cute little border. Again, drawing behind, fine, you know, all of this is hidden back underneath patterns we've already drawn. Got a little bit that comes up here. And then a little bit more. And then the same on the other side, all the way down. Like so. Okay, one more ribbon left. I'm going to do a great border tangle called Vega, which is basically a series of X's that will crisscross and wrap around this last ribbon here. So I'm going to start in this nice open area right here so you can see. And the lines aren't straight across. For me, they kind of like wrap the space a little bit, if that makes any sense. One way, and then they go underneath in the other direction. And then where this last one stop is where the next one will start. And you just crisscross all the way down. So you'll want to go up here too. I just started sort of in the middle so you could see. Okay, and then you'll use your imagination for when it will pick up back down here. Okay, so it sort of looks like, you know, a ribbon wrapped around.
Could you
over
just
there.
do that on a separate piece of paper?
Sure, yes.
Just, it's the X I'm having a problem with.
Yep. And then they don't have to be perfectly X'd in the middle. So here, I'm going to use this as our ribbon here. It's actually really
Okay, perfect.
quite handy. So I just start with lines that wrap that way.
Mhm.
And then,
Okay, so they're supposed to come from underneath. Okay.
right, the second X goes underneath. So there's always the piece that's on top. And then there's the second piece, whichever way you're going, it doesn't matter, goes underneath. Does that help?
Yes, well, yeah. I've already made a mess of it.
Well, if you have a white jelly roll, hides a multitude of sins.
Okay. I don't know if I
Just
can.
go with it, or maybe there's some other decoration you can put inside the X to, you know, if you have, I can take a look at it when we're done if you want suggestions. There's always a way to make it work. Okay, so once you've made your X's or whatever kind of shape you got, we're gonna make an interior aura shape. So I'm not touching the lines that I just drew, but I'm making a shape inside, you know, reacting to the space that's there, and I'm coloring it in. So again, I'm looking at this space here. I'm not touching the lines, but I'm going inside them, making an interior shape and then coloring it in. And I'm going to do that here as well. I have this little triangular space, and I'm going to let this bump out a little bit from the edge of that pencil line to give it 3 dimensions, just to give it a little bit of interest, like we did with the snail, those little bumps on the snail pattern too. So again, here, a little aura, just a little bump. Okay, and then you can go ahead and give some definition to the outside lines if you want to go over. Okay, all right. So that's all of our ink. Let's get to some shading. Can go back the way we came, starting with our vertigo. We're going to keep this shading pretty simple, mostly because there's already so much going on this tile, and I think sometimes less is more. I'm going to start with my pencil, and are we ready to shade? I'm trying to read the boxes. Some of you are ready. Okay. we're going to shade one side of the vertigo, that very first vertigo stem that we drew, drawing behind all the other things that are there. So, and I'm going to shade each, we're going to do each ribbon at a time as we go. And then I'm just going to kind of blend the shading out a little bit. And I'm not putting any on the leaves themselves, but I'm using what's already there and blending out. I'm also using the tortillon to kind of buff out the lines, our original lines that are there that were going through the leaves. You know, that when we decided to ignore the string. So, and then I am going to go a little bit on the unshaded side, but I'm mostly just using what's already there. You know, the graphite that's already on my tortillon. So the leaves have a little bit of shading. One side's going to have more than the other. You can put a little bit of graphite in some of these little orbs. Give them a little roundness. I'm kind of going back and forth between the shaded side and the unshaded side so that I can use some of the graphite. I'm kind of stealing it from the shaded side to bring it into some of the leaves on the other side. Okay. We got something like that. For this one, which was the second one we did, I'm going to put some graphite on the inside of both sides, and I'm also going to shade here where it goes underneath this other ribbon. So a little graphite on the inside on both sides all the way down. And wherever there's something that is overlapping it. And then I'm going to take my tortillon and shade towards the middle, but I want to leave the middle nice and light. So darkest on the outer edges and lighter in the middle. I'm leaving the little orbs on the very outer edge unshaded, but if you want to play around with them, you can see if there's something else you want to do with them, but I'm going to leave them alone for right now. Well, I accidentally shaded some of them, but that's okay. All right. Where did we go after that? Oh, then we did snail. For snail, let's just shade one side and do the same thing we were doing with the vertigo and just borrow from the one side to give a little bit of shading to the opposite side.
Did you shade the leaves at all on
I-
the vertigo?
I only just took graphite that I had put down
Okay.
on the side of it. I just kind of grabbed some and shaded a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm going to shade one side of snail, and I'm curving into the shape a little bit, but again, the center is going to stay unshaded. And I'm just going to smooth out on the opposite side just that original string line. I just want it to kind of fade into the background. And these are just shading suggestions. There's a million different ways you could play around with the shading, but I want to keep it a little bit more simple, mostly because we have the painted backgrounds and all, there's just a ton. For Tripoli, we can do the same kind of thing. We can just shade inside on either side a little bit. So it's making it look like these ribbons are kind of curved up and the center part is closest to the light. So I'm just kind of going down the inside of the border that we made. I'm not shading the border on both sides, a little bit. Doesn't need a ton. And just kind of blending in towards the middle a little bit, leaving that center unshaded. I think sort of the same for the last two as well, shading the sides. Okay, and the very same treatment with Vega. You don't have to shade where it's already fully inked in, but you can go down either side, maybe one side, whatever you think is going to give it a little pop. And then you can shade where the X's, where one goes under the other if you wanted. But try to leave that center lightest. Now, that looks pretty great. If you have a white charcoal or a white jelly roll and you want to play, you can, you can make a stripe of highlight down the center of some of these. You could add some white charcoal to one side of these snail shapes that we made. You could highlight some of the orbs in Vertigo or some of the leaves. These are all optional things. You could go down the center of Vega here and make a white highlight like that. Could go in the center of each of these petal shapes. Just playing around. If you don't have a white charcoal, that's okay. All right, so now find some place on your tile. You can go back to your pen for a moment. Let's find a place to put our chop, our initials. I don't know where that should be. You have to decide where you want yours to go. I'm going to go right here. Let's turn our tile over and recap some of the patterns that we drew tonight. So first of all, the date, what's the day? The 22nd. You can put your name on it. If you wanted to add your intention that you were using tonight, you can do that. I'm going to write Zentangle with Temple Sinai. And we did, what did we do? What did we start with? Vertigo. We did what I think is mirror, some variation of mirror. We did one called snail. We did some Tripoli. That flowery one was kind of a tangulation, so I don't think that that has a name. And then the last one was Vega.
And we had some tipple.
Oh yeah, always tipple. I don't think I ever do a tile without tipple. And then turn your tile over and admire your work. So I'm going to take my spotlight off. And I would love to see all of yours. And then if you wanted to show me the ones that you finished from last week, I would love to see those as well. Oh, wow.
So Micah, I lost track of the lines of some of the ribbons.
Yeah.
And
So
then that X pattern is like, you know, when I took a class with Amy, she tried to teach me
I think
one
these
of the
are,
patterns my brain just doesn't see.
well, yeah, they take practice. These are
Yeah,
beautiful.
I
Oh,
think
Gloria used a square tile. Myrna used a round one. I love it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can see here, this one was a more traditional one. This was the one that I did with the tutorial. Beautiful. Michelle, I can send you, if you email me, I can send you the step out for the
Okay, that'd
crisscross
be
one.
great. So here,
Oh,
just
beautiful. Like, yeah, let me see your ones from last week.
that was last, oh, well, this was, I did today.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
thank you for sending me the,
if you email me, please, Michelle, to remind me, and I will send it to you.
okay. Okay, and I promised Amy I would spend time with her so she could perhaps beat that other one into my head. Maybe we could work on the two together, Amy.
Yeah. Oh, these are great. Your ones from last week came out beautifully too.
Yeah.
So nice. And this one I use, Judy, look, you did it.
You guys are inspiring me to go watch the tape on it.
Yeah, I
They're
can
so
send it to
beautiful.
you, Gloria. It's not up on YouTube yet. You can also see this was, I had to make I used the secondary one that we did, but I had to write myself notes to remember
Ah.
which ones to do first so that they overlap the way that I wanted to. So I named them and each band.
Mm.
So yeah, what do you think of this? It took some concentration, but I thought it
But I have to say,
Loved it.
for myself, I wasn't sure until I looked away and looked back and
is-
was shocked,
that's always the way it is.
except for that stupid X.
We get mired in like all the little things that happen that we didn't plan for, but then the minute you look away and then come back to it, you're
Amazing.
like, wow, that's pretty amazing what I just did.
The other
Yep.
thing that's really helpful for me is I just took a picture of it because somehow when you see a picture, it just looks different.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely true.
Tomorrow morning too.
Tomorrow morning. Yeah. Turn it over, come back to it tomorrow,
Yeah.
see how you feel about it then. And there's a difference between, I would encourage you to try this again because I did it this first time and was like, okay, that's interesting. But then, I knew where I was going
Yes.
the second time through. Plus, I happen to really like the paint on the background. I think it adds so much.
I think it adds a lot too.
Yeah, that's
So
my
I knew,
favorite.
I didn't know you guys had painted last week, but I knew from Phyllis who told me that you had painted, but I didn't know which tiles you had painted. So I just have a whole lot of painted tiles now because I painted pretty much everything. So I would be ready for it. I didn't know what colors you used, but it was great. It was actually a lot of fun because I was like, oh, well, let's just see how this turns out.
I love that. I always keep a stack of painted tiles because it is my preferred way to tangle. I love a watercolor background. I think it enhances pretty much anything. So like I think I've shown you all
This one.
like this on my phone. This was a good one that I did.
Oh God, so beautiful.
Painted
Oh,
background.
beautiful.
Yeah. So that's now you know my
It looks like a microgreen salad.
right. my microgreen salad greens. Yeah.
It does. Wonderful.
That's one of my favorites that I've ever done. So, all right, everyone. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, we'll use one of the painted squares last week. Either one, doesn't matter. And yeah, feel free, paint all your tiles and have fun with all the different colors and experiment with different techniques. That's the way to go. So, all right.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everyone. Bye.
Gloria, nice to see you.
Nice to
Bye.
see you all.
Nice to see
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.